This is Access Tech Live.
Welcome back. Now, let's talk sustainability in tech, because it was Earth Day earlier this week, and it's a great opportunity to think about how we are preserving the planet and how we are doing our bit for the planet. And Mark, it's an interesting one, because I guess the first thing that jumps into my mind whenever we have this discussion is maybe not the tech itself, but perhaps the packaging it comes in. Because I don't know about you, but whenever I'm buying stuff, I have got boxes, I've got plastic inside those boxes, some of these boxes in boxes. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a misconception, I think, that sustainability and using recycled materials and stuff like that really cheapens a product, makes it lesser than it actually is. But sustainability is a much bigger deal, because it's across the whole ecosystem of building tech. If you think about products, using recycled materials is one thing, but as you said, efficient packaging, making sure that you can put less items on a pallet. We saw this years ago when Apple started, shrinking down the boxes of their iPhones. That was so they can get more devices on a pallet, thus sending less packages, meaning they lower carbon emissions. That is sustainability, and that's a way that a tech company can make sure that they're doing their part for the environment. Of course, with materials, I mean, I've had conversations with companies like Razer, who make incredible computer, gaming accessories. Even Ford, I had a conversation with Ford a couple of years back. The way they approach sustainability, amongst other things, of course, internally, is they use the waste from materials that they actually create for cars. They turn that into a powder, and that ends up being a compound that they use to 3D print other pieces for the cars. So they're eliminating waste is another way that you can be and maintain sustainability in tech. And it's a small moves like that over time, Stephen, that make a big impact on our goal of making sure that we're reducing the pollutants that go out into the environment. So it definitely goes across the board. But, packaging is definitely one of those places, I think, that is a small change that a company can make. Use paper, not plastic. Use recycled materials, et cetera, that doesn't affect any quality of the product whatsoever. Not that anything does.
No, but you're absolutely right. It's about using the waste wisely as well. I'm reminded of a product called the Microsoft, I think it was called the Microsoft Ocean Mouse. And it was exactly that. It was plastics pulled out of the ocean and actually used to make these devices. So actually reusing the plastic that's already in our oceans, that's already in our environment in a really positive way. I want to mention a company as well that you may have heard about called Framework. Now, this is not so much about necessarily reusing or creating, sustainable, out of sustainability, essentially, creating a device, but actually making something sustainable long term. The technology we buy is quite throwaway, right? So you buy an iPhone, maybe next year you get the new iPhone. Okay, you can take the old iPhone back to Apple or another company and it will be recycled, and that's great. But you're still creating waste. What if you could, for example, with a laptop, if the keyboard stopped working or the monitor stopped working on it, you could just take that monitor off, or you could remove that keyboard and actually replace it. That's exactly what Framework are doing. And this week, they just announced that they want to move beyond laptops, move beyond computers, and actually create sustainable long-term goals for televisions. So if the frame of a TV doesn't work anymore, you can replace it yourself. So it makes the technology itself more sustainable. I think that's a really cool idea, and it does help.
The modular approach, right? You can actually, this is when a product comes out, they talk about the repairability factor, right? How can you actually replace the battery? Can you replace the battery? Nowadays, with everything getting smaller, it's hard because you can't really get access to all these components because cables and stuff are in the way. So when a company actually puts the effort in to even, Stephen, as simple as using a common screw thread, like using a Phillips screw head, instead of something that requires a special screwdriver. That is an example of attention to detail and sustainability. Using renewable energy like solar, wind, hydroelectricity at manufacturing facilities. That's a way that companies are doing it. I mean, think about it across the board in everything we do. Things like green transportation, carpooling, using hybrid vehicles, biking and walking instead of driving a car. Those are all little things that we can all do to make a difference to the world around us, which will benefit not only us, hopefully, in our lifetime, but the different generations that are out there, and especially in the tech world, because this is such a place where there's so much manufacturing that goes into things, so much waste that was there. So reducing that carbon footprint is definitely something that's something to be paid attention to. And Apple does a really good job at it. I mean, I can imagine that at their upcoming event in just a couple of weeks here on May 7th, they're going to be talking about the environment and talking about everything that goes into making whatever new products they announce sustainable.
Yeah, and another area, and I think disabled people, I've got to say this, disabled people are often at the forefront of all of these things, especially when it comes to transportation, remote work as well, which is another way to cut down on the carbon emissions and all of that. If you can, instead of having to travel across the world for a meeting, do it over Zoom, you got to think about that. That's the impact. These are small things we can all do every day to make life better. But look, you did mention the Apple May 7th event. I have to talk about this because this is quite an interesting one. It kind of dropped out of nowhere. It's called Let Loose. This is the name of the event, which doesn't often give much away. But the idea here is we're going to see iPads, right? We're going to get new iPads this year.
That's the expectation. We never know what we're going to get until we get it. People who always ask me, come to me, oh, do you know what they're going to be announcing? I'm like, if I knew what they were going to be announcing, I probably will be in jail soon because I, went against an NDA of some kind. But we are expecting iPads. It's been a very long time. It's been over a year and a half since we've seen any real shift to the iPad line. There's rumors of a new Apple Pencil, which is kind of interesting. A lot of people are saying, will this be when we start seeing glimpses of AI and what Apple's doing? And I don't think that's the case. If they're doing an event like this, it's going to be hardware focused. They're obviously releasing something that they feel will get some good media attention. But what this does signify for me, Stephen, is we're now over the little lull that we've been in for the past couple of months of not many big announcements. CES kind of ends and then it goes quiet for a while, right? But now I think we're going to start seeing the events start in spring. I mean, May 7th is 2 weeks away. A week after that is Google I/O. We're going to see some stuff from Google, and it just keeps going up straight into WWDC and then everything else that comes. So I'm really excited for this one because of that and because it signifies that we're heading back into a period of time where we're going to see some pretty cool tech.
If we've got time, I want to quickly talk through about what some of these announcements might be. I mean, we don't know anything, as you say, but these are rumours at this stage. The rumours are we're going to see a new iPad Pro, possibly with a new M3 processor in there. That's quite interesting. Probably not a huge surprise. The story at the moment that is doing the rounds is that there may be a new iPad Air, and that will be 12.9 inch. So that's the first time we've seen this sort of Pro size, the big iPad come to... iPad. Yeah, they come to those smaller, what actually were smaller iPads. So this will be the first time we might see that. How popular do you think that's going to be?
I think in education it might be popular. I'm going to be honest with you. I've had, and I have somewhere around here, every shape and size iPad, from a mini to the 11 inch to the 12.9 inch. I thought I'd enjoy a 12.9 inch, but I found it was too big. I just found it was just a little bit too bulky for what you want to do. The 11 inch is kind of the perfect sweet spot. It allows you to consume your media, get some work done if you want to. The mini just makes me feel like I'm in a Star Trek episode, like walking around with data in my hand. Like it's just so cool to have that. But it's a little bit on the too small side. I almost feel like that should be sitting in a bathroom somewhere so that you can not stare at your phone. But this is where the sizes kind of, it's interesting because you got these almost 7-inch iPhones, right? And then you got a 10-inch, a 9-inch, iPad mini. Like at some point, size matters at some point. Like, what are we doing here? Where's that sweet spot going to be? And then you look at the laptops and wonder, okay, but we've got a 13. It's all over the place. I don't think 12.9 is going to be very popular. I think that 11 inch is that perfect sweet spot between all of them.
That's interesting. There's also rumour that the iPad mini will not see much love this time around. Again, these are all rumours. We don't know. But, that hasn't been updated since 2021, which seems odd that they would wait this long to update that particular device, which was very popular when it came out. And interestingly, we were talking about this over in Double Tap the other day from the blind perspective over there, talking about, okay, what are iPads to us as blind people? And I was saying to Sean, for me, I don't see the value of an iPad as a blind person. It's just too much screen real estate for me. I can do all of this on an iPhone. But for some reason, the iPad mini changes that. I don't know why, but it seems like the iPhone and the iPad mini are actually quite an interesting combination for blind people. You wouldn't think that, would you? But that seems to be the general consensus.
I was having a conversation with Blackmagic the other day. They announced a whole bunch of products at NAB, which is a big broadcasting convention that happened a couple weeks ago. And Blackmagic is interesting because mobile is actually a major focus of what they're doing right now, and the iPad is at the focal point of that. They were one of the first companies to release a video editing software in DaVinci Resolve for the iPad that was up to par with the desktop. Of course, there were things missing, you know, but the lines are blurring now between that form factor, especially when you see things like the Surface Pro, which is basically a tablet first, but also with a full operating system. The lines are being blurred there with what we can do on these iPads because they've got desktop-grade processors, but the apps just aren't quite there because Apple is... They're putting a wall up there. They're not letting people design what they could possibly do and push those things to the limit. And I wish they didn't do that because I think that the perfect MacBook Air is, you know, an 11 or 12-inch iPad, to be perfectly honest, with a keyboard accessory. But I think we're years before we're ever going to see something like that.
I totally agree with you on that. And I think that's the problem. You have a very powerful desktop-capable machine, but it's designed inside this lifestyle design, which doesn't make sense. I don't know why they can't open up. I know that's something you've been quite annoyed about for many years. Why not open this up, make it more capable? More like a MacBook.
More like a MacBook, exactly. You know, it's funny, I mentioned CES, Stephen, and back at CES we had a cool interview with a company that made the gyro glove. And it was one of these interviews we said, oh, let's get these guys on. And it was super interesting because the glove features a whole bunch of sensors and things on the arm. It would have been great if I had a clip of that. That helps manage Parkinson's. And that leads us kind of perfectly into a tease for our next segment because Parkinson's Awareness Month is going on right now. And the gyro glove have got a lot of attention at CES. And I reached out to them. I said, well, what's new? What's going on? Is there anything we can talk about? And they said, honestly, we've got some developments coming and some more commercial availability, but the use cases have been coming in left, right, and center, and people are absolutely loving it. But tech plays a pretty big role when it comes to not only managing Parkinson's, but also, you know, treating it and actually, you know, just dealing with it. And when we come back after a quick break, Stephen, we're going to be talking to a very cool company called Rune Labs. They have one of the first FDA-approved apps for the Apple Watch that help to manage Parkinson's disease. Very interesting concept, and we're going to talk to their COO and CFO after a quick break here on Access Tech Live. And don't forget the question of the week. Ooh, it's a good one. If you want to get involved on social media, is if you could replace one everyday object with a futuristic high-tech version, what would it be and what features would it have? I've got some ideas, and so do you. Let us know at Access Tech Live on all our social media. We'll be back in a quick moment.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back.